wanted to ask you about Brant Herter, just in terms of, I think it's like an inning and 2/3 or something in 15 days. How is he? Like, did he throw live with the other guys the other day? How is he staying ready, and can he still be considered bulk?
Yeah, so he did not throw to hitters the other day. He has been off the mound like all of our guys. And obviously he can pitch at any moment, and yes, he can still be considered, really whatever we want to call him, whether it's something short, something long, anywhere in between. So he's keeping himself ready by continuing to touch the mound. That's what a lot of our guys are doing. And he's not the only one. I mean, the reason we did the lives with Kenta and Casey is because they're pretty much guaranteed not to pitch in this series except for injury. So the other guys have to be ready every day. And so we have to be careful that we don't tax anybody to the point where they're not going to be 100% when the next game is. So it's a new role for some of these younger guys, especially like Jackson and Brant and Ty and Cater, but it's an introduction to October baseball. They got to be ready.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to John Neal.
Hey, AJ, you've alluded to it, and again yesterday, but I guess what does it mean for you guys to be bringing October baseball, playoff baseball back to Detroit after 10 years?
Yeah, we're really excited. I mean, I think a lot of our guys are anxious to get to tomorrow's game, to see Comerica at its best. We got to see it a little bit when we clinched against the White Sox. We've seen it at, various games celebrating somebody, whether it's Jim Leland or Miguel Cabrera or the 84 team. I mean, there's been a lot of buzz around our ballpark at different times, but I think our guys know we've earned this game and this appreciation from our city by how we've played. And we had to earn it to get here. We had to win a series on the road, in Houston to make this playoff game happen. And I know our players appreciate playing in Detroit, our fans. They're learning more and more about the patience. A lot of these guys haven't been here during this 10-year stretch very long. So, when they get asked about it, they're learning more and more about the timeline. But I think our place is really incredible to play. I've seen it packed before. We expect it to be packed for this series and help us create an environment that's tough on the other side.
Go to Larry Lage.
Hi, Jay. Can you share some thoughts on Alex Cobb, who you'll see tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about new things all the time. Like, we're playing in new ballparks, we're facing new teams, a lot of firsts for a lot of our guys, and that goes into Alex Cobb as well. We haven't faced him a ton. I know how competitive he is. I've seen him from the other side in multiple uniforms. And one thing I've learned around baseball, when multiple teams want you and you end up popping up in a lot of different places, it's because you're good. I mean, he's gonna be able to move the ball around. He's not gonna throw the same pitch twice. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He gets the ball on the ground. And so we're gonna need to try to do, the opposite of that. We got to get him in the air, and we got to capitalize on any mistake that we get or opportunities that we get. We've been really good, I think, in specifically yesterday, giving ourselves a bunch of opportunities. So if we can do that against Cobb, we're gonna need the big hit like we got last night at the end.
We'll go to Cody Stavenhagen.
Jake obviously had the 2-out hit against Clase. He's said a lot lately, if Raj can do it, anyone can do it. Can you just kind of reflect on, the player he's become and how he's rubbed off on the rest of the team?
Yeah, I think his steady influence is very easy to see on our guys. He was thrust into this, veteran leadership type while he's still trying to learn how to do things for the first time as well. So his steadiness, his personality, his, self-deprecating, poking fun at himself, I mean, it's all good at cutting, any tension that's naturally built because of October. So he's been good for Dingler. He's been good for our pitchers. I don't think anybody has as big an influence on Tarek as he does in terms of in the middle of the the competition and the in-game adjustments. He's just been a very good influence on our guys. I mean, even the way he talks about at bats, I mean, he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he wants to do so well for our guys. I mean, he'll come up and ask me, even last night he asked me, "Are you going to hit for me?" And I'm like, "No, it's your at bat." And he was like, "Sweet, thanks. It's Class A." Like he has a way of balancing out the stress and tension that comes with October, and I think it's been noticeable on both sides of the ball.
Go Jason Beck.
Hey, Jay, heard you on the radio earlier saying that everybody except, Tarek and Reese would be available, tomorrow. How do you balance using your full staff with having games on back-to-back days, which oddly enough is kind of a change from what you've been doing here? You haven't had to do I guess everybody's available on for back-to-back days in a while here.
Yeah, we did it a lot during the season, but you're right. In the playoffs, we haven't done that because Tarek's taken down a lot of innings. He did it in Houston. He did it yesterday, and we've had the off day. But in the season, we were able to navigate that because a lot of our guys can go a long ways. Every decision that I make in Game 3 will impact availability in Game 4. But this time of year, guys are more available than they are during the regular season. So if somebody throws 30 to 40 pitches, they will be available the next day if they're in the bullpen. If somebody goes 60, 70, 80 or the way that Reese did the other day, then he's on the natural 5-day rest period. So I think it's, we've had to be creative. We'll explain it to our guys as we develop our plan for tomorrow, and guys will be ready to go. I mean, I'm watching guys get ready faster. I'm watching guys throw at peak velocity. I'm watching guys bounce back and proactively come to me and say, "I can go." It's because it's October, and guys will post.
Jeff Seidel.
Hey, thank you. I know we talked about Trey Sweeney yesterday morning, but the double play that he made, did you think that he was going to go one, or what did you see on that double play?
No, I thought he was going to go to second. I just thought it was a slow developing play, and it may not get turned by no fault of anyone. I thought Colt did a really good job of making that play. I think, Trey did a good job of cutting the distance and being able to speed that play up a little bit without hurrying, which is a great attribute to have as a player, where you can play fast but not hurry. You can create extra outs by handling the ball cleanly. So I knew we were going to get in out. He came aggressively to charge it, and so I thought when he flipped to second, was the play going to be too slow developing to turn the double play? But we executed that play pretty flawlessly, and it was a big moment of the game where, one of the first times that Tarek was under some stress.
Go back to Chris McCoskey.
Thanks. Two things, AJ. The first one not really related to Game 3, but was Javi. That people said they saw Javi on the bench yesterday, and how cool is that if that's so? And is he going to be with the team like through the series? Supporting?
Javi came yesterday. He made his way back. He was in Puerto Rico, tending some family matters, and then came back, flew to Detroit, drove down with his family for yesterday, and now he is back in Detroit and will be here tomorrow. So he's been in constant contact with us, and same with Alex Faedo, who, by the way, we are keeping in our thoughts. He's in the middle of that hurricane that's headed towards Tampa, as is our people in Lakeland. So we're in touch with all of our people, but specifically to your question, Javi was there on the bench yesterday, came to the hitters meeting, and will be in Detroit.
Secondly, what are you seeing, not performance-wise, but what are you seeing like presence-wise from Riley? He doesn't like what's going on in terms of whatever his numbers are, but do you still see him being like the presence you talked about yesterday? He's still upbeat in the clubhouse. I know he's grinding, but is he still Riley?
Have you ever seen Riley change?
I know he gets angry at himself when he's not producing.
He does, but no, he's been fine. I mean, listen, all of these, when you don't hit a ball perfectly, or you go a game without getting a hit, or you're not feel like you're doing your part, these guys get frustrated. But he's not any different now than he is before. He's a huge presence. He's going to come up to bat a big side. And one thing I know, they don't want him up to bat. I'm watching them manage against him. I know they are always aware. They intentionally walked him in the middle of this. Probably all we need to know about, kind of what they think of Riley Green. He's going to have a big swing in this series. Could be tomorrow, could be the next day. But I don't see any sort of difference of behavior or stress. These guys just want to do well and do their part and get a good pitch to hit. And the more he does that, he could be the biggest player in the game tomorrow. You never know.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll take 3 more. Larry Leach.
AJ, are you going to wait till tomorrow to announce who will open the game? And is that any sort of advantage that a team has to wait till the game day?
We're going to talk about it today. We're not really having a workout today. We'll have a couple pitchers throw some treatment. I'll talk to Fett today and the rest of our group, and we'll devise the plan, on how we're going to lay out the beginning of our pitching. We will make sure and let Cleveland know tonight, so that they can build their lineup and build their strategy as well. So we just haven't come to that determination yet. We've got a lot of options. Like I said, 10 of the 12 pitchers we have are going to be available, and we're going to use them. So we're not hiding the ball on them at all. They'll know by the end of their workout what our plans are for the first inning.
Jason Beck.
Yeah, I know, Torque's kind of going through it at the plate, but what are you seeing from him defensively, particularly with the decisiveness on plays to his right? It seems like the last couple weeks he's been less in between and taken more quick decisions on that. Yep. Was there a talk about that? And was there a talk with pitchers about, being quick to react and go to the mound to cover?
So no, there wasn't a meeting or anything on that. Where Torque's development, I'm glad you brought that up, because we only notice him when we don't make the plays, right? Then he's making these plays look routine because they are for him. It was a point of emphasis when we sent him down. Billy Boyer and our AAA staff did a really good job of creating better angles for him, and he's reacting accordingly. He's doing a really good job of finishing plays on defense. It is a big part of it, especially against this team that's predominantly left-handed. They're high contact. We've had guys that get ground balls, and he's answering, making every play. So we didn't have a specialty meeting. The pitchers know it's their job to get over when the ball's hit to the right side, and that tweener play between first and second is a tough one. I've seen both sides of it, where Andy's made a really good play with the glove flip where Torque has gone right to the base, and then other plays he's had to read and get the ball first and flip it to the pitcher. So I just like that he's finishing plays with more confidence and more aggressiveness than earlier in the season. And it is a high impact play, especially in October, to finish plays.
We'll wrap up with Tony Paul.
Hey, AJ, obviously a very exciting postseason throughout the game, throughout all of baseball so far. But in the American League Division Series round, what is the American League Central showing maybe the rest of the country that kind of overlooks this division?
Yeah, no, I know there's been a lot of talk over the last few years with teams having, tough stretches, tough seasons. And, they're obviously every team in the big leagues deserves respect. I think when our division has the type of season that we have, where we're playing everybody in the league, the balanced schedule really does challenge you to not just play well in your division and get a playoff berth, but play well across the league. And, we have 3 teams that did it, and actually 4 with Minnesota, because they were in it all the way until the end. So I think the AL Central deserves more respect than it's gotten. And the proof is in the teams that are still fighting to represent the American League in the World Series. And It's funny. I don't know if familiarity is a good or bad thing, but I know that the rest of the baseball world is seeing what we've seen all year, which is a growing number of teams developing their players and realizing that the talent's pretty deep in this division as it is to some of the more popular divisions.
We'll start with Chris Muskowski from the Detroit News.
Jackson, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. Hey, I'm curious to know how you're doing with staying ready. This is obviously a different role for you. It's a lot more, I mean, maybe it's more throwing, maybe it's less throwing. Like, how are you able to kind of make sure that you're ready to go whenever they need you to go in the next 2 days here?
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of staying ready, listening to, my body, as far as how much throwing I should do that day. But I mean, as a starter, I was built up to 100 pitches. I was throwing 100 pitches, a few times out there towards the end. So I feel like my body and my arms in pretty good shape. So I just kind of stay ready. I don't get too into depth with trying to be perfect each day with how many throws I'm doing or whatever. Just listen to my body and be ready to go for whenever my name's called.
How are you dealing with just, I know how badly you want to get back out there, you know what I mean? And have a clean inning or two, you know what I mean? How are you dealing with, just that hitter gets to go to bat the next game, you got to kind of wait.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of the game. Obviously, I want to get back in there, get another opportunity, but at the same point, I like watching our guys shove, like going out there and watching Scoobel go 7 shutty, and then Vest and Bo come in there and shut the door. Like there's nothing more fun than winning. And so yeah, I know I'll get my turn when it's time.
Thanks, Jackson. Appreciate it.
Next, we go to Jason Beck.
Yeah, hey Jackson, thanks for doing this. I'm curious, starters are so routine oriented, having a daily plan and everything. I think we talked about this the other day a little bit, but how's the process been adjusting away from that and going to a role where your daily work looks completely different from what you would have been used to?
Yeah, I think a lot of times guys get very caught up in the routine, and I'm definitely a victim of that, being a starter and having like me doing the same thing every single day, doing the same thing every single start day, like not missing a beat minute by minute. And I think being in the bullpen has taught me that it really doesn't need to be like that. Like you don't have a whole lot of time to get ready. When your name's called, obviously you're moving around in between innings, but when your name's called, you pick up the ball and you start moving around, and just the adrenaline kind of takes over, and you get out there and you feel great. So I think that's something I've learned is obviously the routine is important, especially having it over a long season, but it doesn't always need to be perfect.
Has there been anybody out there in particular who has helped give you tips or kind of given you guidance? Hey, watch how much you throw, or hey, this might be a good opportunity for you to get some throwing in, because there seems like a few guys out there who've kind of made that, who have been starters, in fact, for much of this year, who've had to go through that same process.
Yeah, I think there's a few guys out there right now that are kind of the same boat as me, still kind of learning. But as far as anyone specifically, like I've just kind of been asking around, like, hey, how many times you touched the mound this week? What are you doing this day after you throw? Just asking different guys different questions, just picking kind of everyone's brain. But like kind of like I mentioned, like it's really not that complicated. It's the same game. Like I'm gonna do all my prep work before the game, get the body right, and then go out there and kind of just read the game as it's going, moving around here and there. But overall, like the body's gonna be ready when that phone rings.
And lastly, for me, how much have you been responsible for the bullpen backpack with stuff to take out there, and how much have you learned about just how much stuff the relievers take out there for a game?
Yeah, I have been in charge of the bullpen bag, so I gotta make sure that thing's out there and make sure I bring it in before we hit the road. Um, yeah, just part of the rookie duties. I was the last guy to get here in the bullpen, the newest member. So that's my duty right now.
Just treats and gear and everything?
The bullpen. Oh yeah, I do pack a snack bag, and then we got like rosin and Advil eye drops. I see things like that I put in the that we put in the bullpen bag to have out there. So
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson.
jeez.
Jason, we'll go back to Chris.
Yeah, you mentioned Scooble and watching him. He's left-handed, you're right-handed, but you're both power guys, essentially. What can you take? What have you taken? And what have you taken just from his fire? You pitch with a lot of fire too, but I mean, can you take something from his kind of demeanor, his mound presence as well?
I mean, yeah, I think he's a good example of what every starting pitcher wants to be. I mean, he's the best pitcher in baseball, hands down. It's not even a question. So yeah, having a guy like that on your team, just being able to watch it, I mean, it's pretty special. He goes out there, he gets into it, he takes everything personal, he goes after guys. So yeah, I mean, it's just fun to watch, really.
Thanks.
Go to Rachel Hotmeyer.
Hey, Jackson, just back on your routine for a second. I'm curious if, as you've adapted here, if there's anything specific you really had to be like, you know what, I don't have time for this anymore, or anything you had to punctualize.
Yeah, I think really the first thing that comes to mind is like part of my weighted ball routine that kind of is long that I do on my start days. I don't really have time to do what my name's called, but I do an abbreviated version that takes all of 30 seconds. So pretty easy adjustment there.
Matt, can you at all guess what the atmosphere is going to look and sound like tomorrow night?
I mean, I can only imagine it's gonna be pretty electric. We've heard about what a playoff atmosphere is like here in Detroit. Pretty crazy, pretty excited, and just the overall vibe of the city right now with how well the Lions are doing, and just it's been 10 years since we've had a playoff baseball game back here in Detroit. So, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a pretty special day. I think it's gonna be pretty electric atmosphere.
I'll go to Chris McCoskey.
Matt, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Two things. One thing not related to the game, but what does it say about Javi that he made the effort to come back from Puerto Rico, drive himself to Cleveland, and he wants to be with you guys and be part of it? How cool was that? How did you guys, how'd you respond to that?
Yeah, no, I think I was in the training room or something like that. I saw him walk in, and I mean, everybody in the training room kind of went nuts, just him walking in. Everybody loves Javi. He's such a good presence for us. He's a great guy, and just to have him around and for him to make the effort to drive over and come to the game, that meant a lot to us. And it really, I was thinking about it. It really is awesome having him around right now, just for one, because the experience he has in moments like this, but then also, he just picks up the vibe of everybody, and everybody loves him, and he's great. So just to have him around is awesome. And to see him walk in the door was like, there already was, a good vibe, and just him walking in, it made things even better.
Hey, what does it kind of the small sample size of these postseasons kind of do on a player's psyche? Like, like in 2022, you had a couple of hits, and it's just such a small period of time. But if you look at your batting average, it's low. And I'm thinking of Riley going through it a little bit, Torque going through it a little bit, Colts looking for his first hit. I mean, it's only a couple games, man. But how do you
Yeah.
guys deal with that on a short sample like this?
Yeah, I mean, everything's amplified, right? You everything's like under a microscope, just with, how intense the games are, how much each at bat means. I was talking with Riley yesterday about, how playoff baseball, it's different. It's different than regular season baseball. Something about it when you go up there to the plate, every at bat matters. It's not just like a game number 94 and you're just getting your at bats in and everything. It means a little more than that. So it's definitely different. I feel like, you know, not too worried at all. I feel like those, for me back in 2022, the biggest thing is the pitching. The pitching is just so good. And
Yeah.
and there is a lot of pressure packed at bats. So hitting's, one of the hardest things to do in sports. And then you try to do it in the playoffs too. It makes it even harder. That's with the pitching and the situations that you're put in. So I remember in 2022, I started against all the lefties. I faced Jose Quintana. I faced uh, Max Fried. I faced Blake Snell, and I faced Framber Valdez twice. So
Oh boy.
yeah, I was like, man, with some off days in between. So it was like very tough pitching matchups. And I feel like that's just, and I'm not saying that's just about me. I just meant that in general of like,
Right.
there's going to be good pitching no matter where you go. And guys are going to have their A+ stuff because it just means more right now, right? So, yeah, I mean, low batting average right now. No, I don't think any of us are too caught up in that. I think, we'd sacrifice batting average right now for quality team at bats. Torque had a great at bat, pushing that guy over to third base. Stuff like that matters more to us in the postseason.
Thank you.
Go to Jason Beck.
Hey, Matt, thanks for doing this. With the way the first couple games of this series, the schedule is unfolded in terms of game, off day, game, off day. Has it been a little bit challenging to come into to find a rhythm compared to the regular season, or are these off days kind of welcome at this time of year?
Well, on a personal note, I think it's welcome for me. It gives my body a break, and just helps, you have some bumps and bruises that you deal with throughout the year, and these off days help mitigate that a little bit. But on the routine side, it is a little bit challenging trying to get into a routine as far as seeing velocity on a daily basis. Um, you know, we could go 10 games in a row in the regular season. You get an off day and you come back from that off day, you feel like you hadn't seen pitching in like a week. So, just getting, we have these workouts on these off days, just trying to see some velocity off the machine or, maybe give your body a break if it needs it, whatever it calls for. But I've actually found it's been pretty consistent with game, off day, game, off day. I felt like I've gotten in a routine of that. Yeah, it's just, you just get used to it what you can and you try to really for a hitter, you just try to stay on top of the velocity and your timing. That's the biggest thing.
And last question for me. When you first came over to the Tigers organization, what did you know about Kerry Carpenter? And in the year and a half, 2 years since, how have you seen him grow as a hitter during your time here?
Yeah, when I first came over here, I remember I played him. Well, I first remember playing against him in Reading when I was with the Phillies, and I don't even know if he started any of the games in Lake Erie to open the year in 2021. I remember Riley was leading off, and I think I was hitting third or something for Reading, and but anyway, Carp was on that team. I didn't know much about him, but I remember that year he hit really, really well. Or maybe it was 22, he hit really, really well. Whatever it was, I remember coming over here and I heard a lot about, oh man, he could hit a homer at any point in time, just watch. And he did that. I mean, in spring training, I think he had a little bit slower of a spring training that year in 23, but he had a great first month, I think. Then he got hurt for 6 weeks with his shoulder. but then the rest of the year he was just nails. And just prove that I mean, at any point in time he could go yard. I mean, and then I mean, going into this year, I remember spring training, he hit a ball opposite field that most right-handed hitters would have trouble hitting a ball that far to left field. So I mean, just to see, you know, his growth as a hitter and how he's done has been really, really impressive. And I feel like the sky's the limit for him. I feel like, the more and more he does this in these situations, we just have so much confidence in him. And I think, like I said, sky's the limit. I mean, he's such a talented hitter, has a great eye. He can not only does he hit for power, he can hit for average as well. He's got great bat to ball skills. So he's one of the more impressive hitters I've ever seen, and it's just really cool to watch him, go to work on a daily basis.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Go to Cody Sabenhagen.
Hey Matt, just put simply, what has Jake Rogers meant to you guys as your catcher, and what do you appreciate about him as your teammate?
Yeah, well, first as a catcher, I mean, he's incredible back there. He, whether it's framing baseballs, blocking stuff, throwing guys out, he's an incredible catcher in his own right. I mean, he handles the pitching staff too so well. And just going into the teammate factor, I think what probably matters most is how good of a teammate he is. I feel like, the way he is in the locker room, the way he is around the guys on the field, off the field. I think that bleeds into, how he is as a catcher. I feel like that's how you manage a pitching staff, is how you talk to them in the locker room, how you hang out with them off the field. And he's close. He's a glue guy. He's as close with everybody on the team as anyone can be, and he's a great leader for our team too. He's very, very consistent. When he's on the field, he's stoic, but when he's in the locker room, he's not. He's anything but that. So it's just awesome to have him on our team. I feel like he's such a good guy, and he handles the pitching staff so well, and he's such a good leader for our young guys. I feel like he, more than anybody, really takes care of the leadership stuff, and whether it's getting guys together, everything like that. He's a huge part of that, and maybe the leader of that. So without him, I really don't think we are here right now.
And for you, we've joked all year about you being kind of treated as a veteran, or having to answer questions like you're a 10-year vet. But behind the scenes with your younger teammates, have you felt yourself grow into that, or kind of get used to being more in that role at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I would say they've really done most of this. They've been great on their own. I mean, I feel like when there was times when guys come to me with questions about stuff and what are playoffs like, or anything like that. But I mean, these guys have just come up here and just played. I mean, really, there hasn't been a ton of questions or a ton of uncertainties about things. It's really they've just gone out there and played. And but there are times when they ask me certain things or stuff like that, maybe about the playoffs. But really, they've gone about their business so great, and I haven't had to do much as a veteran. I've been able to kind of just play, and also, I'm only 3 years in, and I'm learning too. So I'm kind of with them on that as well. But yeah, whenever they need me, I'm here. But they've really done most of it on their own. It's been really impressive to watch.
All right, thanks, Matt.
John Neo.
Hey Matt, and we've talked about it earlier this season, but are you getting some deja vu feelings? I mean, the way this is all playing out, and I guess also, what do you remember about that first home playoff game in Philly back in 22?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. I mean, just at the fact that with Philly, we hadn't been there in, 11 years, I think it was, and being able to bring a playoff game back there to that city. I know how much that city loves sports, and to be able to bring a playoff game back there and how excited they were, that was, really cool. Now you come over to Detroit and it's virtually the same thing. It's been a decade since a playoff game has been here. Yeah, it is a little bit of deja vu, but man, it's been just incredible to kind of see how how excited this city is, and how excited we are to kind of play in front of the fans.
Okay. Anything else for Matt?